Hey! There's times when it's nice when it's like cold and wet and miserable outside. It'd be better if I were at the log cabin, right? You know, you're seeing fun of a real fireplace instead of this digital recreation, but that's okay. I get a nice blanket to snuggle up in later. I spend a lot of time in deep thought. You know, I myself can't stand, I am adverse to like these self-help gurus out there. It's like if you do this and you do that, and 99% of it is absolute garbage. Well, maybe not 99, maybe it's like 97%. So this video is not like that. I myself don't like that at all. I roll my eyes anytime I see it and try not to watch it or listen to it. You know exactly what I'm talking about. So the title of this video might imply that that's what I'm referring to in this, but it's not. By the way, this is some optically flat glass that you actually make the supercells with. It's actually really expensive, and it just looks like regular flat glass, but it's optically flat. And all that means is, of course, any piece of glass to a human being looks flat, and it's nice and smooth. But if you look at it underneath the microscope, it's basically like the Rocky Mountains. And what makes optically flat glass is that's within, this is within a quarter wavelength of optical flatness, which basically is just a fancy way of saying that it's super duper flat. For example, you can make the magnetic viewing cell out of regular glass, and you get an idea of what you're looking at, but you can't really see all the fine details until you get the optically flat glass. And this means that the light isn't diffracted and scattered off in a million different degrees, such that you can't actually view what's going on. And human beings and the things that we actually set up in our lives are just like that. We're might think that we're calm on the surface. And a lot of people appear to be calm on the surface. And true metal is tested just like a sword. You can actually have two identical swords. One is like a true tamahagane. That's the Japanese name. I'm surprised I remember that word. Tamahagane sword, built by a master craftsman, that has a soft core and a harder shell that's actually sandwiched around the softer core. And then you can have an identical blade, but both look perfect and brilliant, but one will stand the battle and the other one will not. I kind of find it interesting that you can always determine what a person truly is and test their true metal. They can look superficially calm, and a lot of these guru types are like that. And if you just scratch right underneath the surface, they'll show you their true character. A lot of people try to put up a facade in life. Actually, I'd say most of us do. We want people to think we're a certain way, or we have a certain wealth and whatnot. And I'm getting to the point very quickly here. Just bear with me, please. And all it does is cause us and everybody else a lot of strife. A secret that I wished I had learned early in life, and I never was one about pretenses, but we all go through phases in life. You know, when we're ignorant teenagers. Actually, I never did any of the teenager stuff that normal teenagers do. I was always really involved in extreme deep thought on the greater secrets of life, so I actually never did that. But we all still, regardless to whatever degree, have had phases. And one of the best things that's actually been so helpful in life, and nobody teaches this that I'm aware of, at least not the angle I'm going to go after it in this video, is that we either make ourselves a piece of occluded glass, as in painted glass, right? Of course, the stained glass windows are in churches or whatnot. A certain amount of light passes through them or not, of course, depending on the color. But a lot of us actually build up, you know, this mirage of a persona that we're so involved with. And I've made countless videos about beliefs, and this is only partially upon that beliefs, that we believe that we are our beliefs. And of course, we end up creating our own hatred and aversions, and it's okay to actually despise what is evil and those that embrace evil. I find moral relativism, you know, extremely reprehensible. I mean, there is true evil in the world, and there are those that embrace it, and it is noble to shun that. And the people that teach otherwise are teaching foolishness. And you say, well, water is water is water. It's like, well, that's true, but there's a reason why we don't drink from the old turlet, and we don't drink, mucky water that has nasty stuff in it, that's in the creek in our backyard. If you have a creek like that, and I don't have one like that, but I've certainly seen more than a few of them. It's like, well, it's water, but I'm not going to drink from it because I have intellect and wisdom, and it's full of stuff, and it's probably going to make me sick. So people that actually engage in that moral relativism and reductionism, well, you shouldn't shun people, and it's like, no, I should. It's the same reason that you should naturally shun drinking tap water, or nasty water from the creek, or dogs love to lap out. I don't have a dog. Love to lap out of the old turlet. People leave the lids up top. For some reason, dogs are attracted to that. At least from my observations, that's the case. But the point being, and yes, I'm very quickly getting to the point, is that we build up so many stresses in our lives, and man, this is really true. I mean, if you actually follow this to any degree, you'll actually see how true it is. That we've made ourselves like a piece of glass that we've painted over. It's not only built upon belief systems, but aversions and false pretenses about things that we are not. I mean, the question is, and by the way, glass is a capacitor. It's kind of a near-perfect analogy referring to glasses. Do we let the light of the absolute shine through us? When this actually happens, so too does the good, and also, too, natural order. When we build up these false pretenses about how we want others to perceive us, or we get stressed out about people talking about our external appearances, because people insult me all the time in comments and live stream, and I couldn't care less. I mean, I know I'm fat, bald, and tattooed. I don't have any money, and there's things in life I failed at. Definitely so, big time. I don't have a wife and kids. I mean, I had a wife for a period of time. Her ashes are in the back room back there. I mean, so I did have a wife, but I don't have any kids, and I don't. I have a roof over my head, and it's obvious that I'm not starving. And I have a nice farm that I greatly enjoy, and I don't get down there often enough. But we don't let the light shine of the absolute through us, and whether you believe in that or not, and I don't mean believe in the truest sense, but in the absolute transcendent metaphysical sense, this actually makes life infinitely easier. Now, if we eliminate the lies that we build up to protect ourselves, and it's okay to protect others, and of course everybody lies to a tiny degree. I know a couple people in life that won't lie about anything. I don't tell anybody where my farm is at, but that's not a lie, that's an omission. But I have, I'm always shocked, and a lot of people lie in life, most people lie in life. When you ask them a serious question, they'll actually hide the truth. Someone says, well, can I ask you not an intimate question, but a personal question? When people ask me that, and I'm always like, I'm an open book, What do you want to know? I'll tell you my failures, what I'm good at, what I'm bad at. I mean, it just makes life so much easier. We have to create more lies to defend the lies that we told, and we can't keep them straight. It's like, I'll tell you, I'm adverse to doing A, B, C, X, Y, Z. I know this, I don't know that. I don't care about insults. I don't have any false pretense or belief system built around the meat suit, as I would humorously call it, the existential self. Tell the truth. Don't be ashamed of existential existence, being poor, cross-eyed. Of course, I'm responsible, for being fat. I used to be super skinny. I used to be skinnier than all of you, and I had the picture proof of it. I just moved back from Florida. I sit behind the computer, and I get fat, and of course I'm bald. That's genetics. Hair is ignorance grass, by the way. But just like glass, the light shines through it, and so does the truth, but in doing so, you actually become, I don't know if you know this or not, but glass is a capacitor. It's not that you're transparent, and a lot of people actually have false pretenses and thinking about, being extremely transparent, that people will take advantage of you, and actually the exact opposite happens. Black panels heat up, and of course this is high resistance and high permeability. Glass is a capacitor, by the way. There's even glass capacitors. There's a neat little video called MIT, the dissectable capacitor, where the actual charge is in the glass, but it's completely transparent. So not only does the light shine through it, things become easier. Transparency has always been synonymous with wisdom and clarity and absence of resistance. You have high permeability, high visibility, but it also, too, is a capacitor. It makes life easier. Using a glass analogy here. You get charged by being neutral to your existential self. When people actually build up walls of themselves against the rest of the world, and of course in this upside down world where everybody's crazy, I know why people are actually building up higher and higher walls. I mean, I do get that, but you get charged by letting the light of the absolute, and I hope this doesn't sound like woo-woo talk, but you get charged because good things actually will come to you, and you'll actually have clarity of vision by not dumping your energy in building up a wall of belief systems, aversions, and hatred, on and on and on. I mean, this is about 60, 70, depends on where you're at in life, where we're wasting energy. I mean, life becomes so much easier when you don't have pretenses and you don't have lies and you don't give a damn what anybody else thinks about you, or like, oh, look at that guy, he's fat, bald. I don't care. I am fat, bald, and tattooed. I don't care. I'm wise. I have a roof over my head. I'm not starving to death. I have a nice farm. I'm whatever anybody thinks, I don't care. But I mean, I know I have a certain degree of wisdom, and I'm not interested about intellect, and I'm not interested about it in other people as well. You don't take intellect with you when the soul and the body part ways, and so worrying about that is just another defense that we actually build up. Like, how smart can I be? What's your IQ? I've never tested my IQ, and IQ is not important. That is episteme, i.e. empirical knowledge, not wisdom. Wisdom is self-proximity, and of course there's two focuses in life. There's the magnifying glass that's focused outwards on obtaining money and objectivity. Yeah. And then there's the other type of magnifying glass, which is directed backwards at the source. When it's directed backwards at the source, then the external meat suit, or analogously the magnifying glass, or the meat suit, or the piece of glass that makes up existential reality of that which we think is ourselves, but which is not, when it fades away, then transcendence is effectuated. So you get liberated by turning focus inwards rather than outwards, and this, of course, is another aspect of clarity, and that would be no different. Of course, this is not a magnifying glass, and taking the magnifying glass, if it has a convex side on one side and is optically flat on the other, and turning it from this direction to that direction, this is, of course, where Platonic recollection comes in, but that's a matter for another video. You know, you fill yourself with hatred and envy and countless other things. You're just coloring the glass that is your life, such that nothing noble, i.e. the divine light of truth and wisdom, is able to pass through it. You actually lack clarity. You create resistance. You build up heat. You know, the heat, of course, is the hatred, which is exactly what it is. You can never be fulfilled by hatred. It is okay to be repulsed by and adverse, to things that are evil and impure in life. That doesn't mean you hate it. It's not saying that you, hate dirty creek water, but you're not going to drink it because it's full of filth and organisms. It is water, but it has low potential for consumption, unless, of course, you're terminally ignorant. Then you might drink out of a creek and get cryptosporidia, and you get what do they call it, Montezuma's revenge, and horrifically sick. But all the rest of us, and we all fail at this at various points in our life, either to a greater or lesser degree. But when you actually eliminate out this, nothing noble that passes through is reversed. It is eliminated. By the way, morality and immorality, of course, play no part in wisdom. With wisdom, concerns about conduct and morality are ultimately moot. Government and laws, of course, only exist and are designed to keep evil and ignorant people in check. There's morality and then there's immorality, which are antinomies in life. And the truth is, of course, always amorality. When you follow natural order, which is just a fancy way of letting the light of the absolute or the divine or God shine through you, then you have no concerns. Truth and wisdom are the very essence of your being, and you're not occluded by filters and shades and paint covering the glass that occludes the truth. I mean, that sounds overtly simplistic, but absolute divine truth and wisdom and the absolute are that simple. Not simplistic, but certainly so simple. Anything other than the good is, of course, evil. When you actually occlude yourself, you're just burning yourself up like this imaginary fire on my desktop. We are all, of course, filled with likes and dislikes, and it's natural, and it is natural order to be repulsed by evil and things and entities that embrace evil. The reason why the ancients were called sannyasins in ancient India means a forest-dwelling recluse is they had no time for the drama and filth, and life is short. When you fill your life full of drama, which is basically nothing other than the battle of beliefs between yourself and possibly yourself only, but also too mainly with others, life is just full of drama and hate, and you just burn yourself up. The reason why they were forest dwellers is because they wanted to be removed from the drama and the belief systems of everyday society. They were forest dwellers for a reason. They only came into town with their begging bowl to ask for a little food and then head straight back to the forest again. The world now is busy. Now we actually have too much noise and not enough signal, which is extremely unfortunate. But anyway, we all have likes and dislikes and are repulsed by things, and that's perfectly natural. Everything in nature is repulsed not only by evil, but also too by that which is fundamentally filth to the constitution, either to the soul or the constitution to the body. We don't consume. Of course, everybody now does consume filth, macaroni and cheese and Kool-Aid and 10 million other things that we shouldn't be consuming. And this is the reason for society's downfall. Not only everything that we consume, and I know I'm fat, but I don't actually eat that kind of stuff. We're all consumed with. Everybody's living in a nutshell, and they've completely blacked out the glass, which is their soul, and they dwell within this echo chamber of nonsense, lies, and self-ruination. And I don't mean self as an existential self, which of course it does ruinate. But it ends up corrupting the soul. The fact that people intentionally, to a great degree, they'll not only black out the glass of their soul, but they'll actually add layers on top of that. Some people think that if you let the light of the Absolute shine through you, where you don't actually have pretense, that this is like being an innocent babe in the woods, and countless ignorant people that we actually see in the real world where ignorance is bliss and it eventually dawns on them, and it's totally the opposite. You see people like that, and I've seen more than a few, where you can look at them and you know that the wind is literally like whistling through their ears. They're extremely ignorant and extremely unintelligent, but these people are not living the pure life of the divine or of God or whatever word you choose. They are dwelling in ignorance, and they're full of beliefs and aversions, so on and so forth. And they, just like most people on this earth, and we've all been guilty of this to a greater extent or a lesser extent. Some people, almost 100% of the time, are like this. Unfortunately, we've all been there, but to be there 100% of the time like that, we end up destroying ourselves at the fundamental level, not only existentially, but also too subjectively and metaphysically. People want to be unique, but by unique, what they want and intend to mean is an island unto themselves. Well, I am person so-and-so, my name is this and that, and this is what I believe, and what I believe is who I am, and who I am is what I believe, and I like this, and I hate that, and this, and this, and this, and they're a blackened piece of glass that's been painted, that's sitting in the sun. It's just burned up. There's no capacitance there, by the way. I don't know if you know this or not, but you can actually take any piece of glass, and even if it's not a silicone wafer solar panel, you can actually get charge just off the glass, because glass is a capacitor. You can take that same piece of glass and spray paint it black, one side or the other. Now it will heat up, and it will degrade really fast, but you won't get any charge off of it. Nobody is ever charged by blocking themselves off from the light, using my glass analogy that's applicable to the metaphysical self. So everybody wants to be unique, and everybody's like a little snowflower with their own little designation of who they are and what they identify as, and that's going in the complete opposite direction to truth, the divine, and of God. It just absolutely, it's not my opinion that it is, it absolutely demonstrably is. There is, of course, a false light that actually people will cleave to, which is collectivism. I'm not interested in politics, but people love to destroy, evil entities and organizations love to destroy the idea of the divine or of God so that they can create their own light that they hope everybody focuses on, and that, of course, is existential collectivism, which always ends in absolute tragedy. There's never been a point in time where false light was not created that people were told to focus on it, that it didn't end in tragedy. It's just an irreducible fact. There's the true light, of course, of the one or of God, which is, of course, the good and the divine. And when you drop the pretenses about who you are and what you want other people to think about you, and you set up lies, well, I'm like you're meeting somebody you're trying to impress at a party or a girlfriend or whatever. I'm a millionaire, yeah. I have a corporation, a LLC, and, I'm the, and it's just, like that kind of talk. You're trying to impress people. You're just building up this mirage of lies, which require more lies and more lies on top. And eventually, it will always collapse. Advantages of actually letting the truth of the absolute or God or the divine shine through you is that life is substantially easier. I can tell you with that absolute fact, it's not my opinion or feeling or belief that it is easier. Life is easier. It becomes easier to see through people. Just like you let the light of the divine shine through you, you can actually see through people easier. If you have this belief system set up, evil entities will take advantage of that belief system, and they will corrupt your life and your mind. But if the light of truth and wisdom actually shines through you, you can see through anybody. That is wisdom and clarity of essence of being. And of that, I am not opinionated. I can tell you that that's an absolute fact. You can always see through people easier, because evil always shows its true form when the light of the divine or of God actually shines through you upon them. And they hate it. They actually cringe away from it. They don't even want to mess with you. It becomes infinitely harder to be misled by people, because when you have a belief system and a structure of lies on and on and on, people can turn you and convert you and get you to believe things, existential things. Well, that's what I believe too. I'm interested in joining you. It always ends in tragedy. I mean, it always does. So it becomes infinitely harder to be misled by people. It's way easier to see other people's lies and fallacies. It's easier to see motives and agendas, because 99.99% of this world has a motive and agenda upon you, upon your wallet, or upon you and your wallet. And we're only born with so much energy and time in this life, and that's all anybody has, and we have to choose how we spend it. You're born with a set number of energy and a set amount of time, and it's your decision on how to spend it. And when you actually have the light of the divine shine through, and you don't create occlusions and filters over your soul, life becomes a lot easier, and it always becomes more true. You'll always settle on a place that's closer proximity to the divine. Lastly, it's easier to see natural order. You can't have a belief system or an indoctrination. A lot of this is academia, too. Quantum and relativity is nothing but a giant compound of lies. It is contrary to nature. And I've proven that over and over again. And, for example, quantum is just this structure of lies and belief system that keeps academicians propped up. It's like, well, you have to have a PhD to understand it, but you can buy my book and you could read it and you might have an attempt to grasp it. There's a perfect example. There's 10 billion examples out there like that, but that's just one of them. You get charged by being neutral to your existential self and dropping the pretenses of who and what it is. Well, my name is so-and-so, and this is what I believe, and I like this, and I don't like that. On and on and on and on. You actually get charged. Light, by the way, glass is a capacitor. You actually literally get charged by letting the light pass through you. Look that up, by the way, glass capacitor, if you want to look online. You also, too, once again, get liberated by turning focus inwards rather than outwards. You fill yourself with hate and envy. You're just coloring the glass such that nothing noble will pass through you. Life becomes more miserable, but people think that by building this structure around that which they fundamentally are, that they're helping themselves. And they're not. It's like some of these people that wall their houses off nearly airtight. The house becomes stagnant and miserable, and this is what people do with their soul. And I actually am remiss to say your soul or their soul or anybody's soul, because that implies possession. You know, nothing has a soul, and of course a radio doesn't have a signal. That's not a rejection of the signal or of the radio, but there's no signal in this radio, and there's no soul in the body. The soul, of course, is being received. The body is analogously, of course, a radio. And water is the antenna. We could use a water analogy and talk about the stagnation of water. And people are spiritually stagnant. And when we set up belief systems and obscene, likes and dislikes, on and on and on, we just stagnate the very nature of our soul. And that's not the way things are supposed to be. It makes life miserable, harder. It's easier to be entrapped. It's easier to be misled. It's harder to see through people. And it also, too, it is just the biggest energy and time sucker you could... This stuff is so slick. It actually slid off the other one. Becomes the biggest time sucker. It just makes life miserable. And, I've been guilty of this to a much lesser degree than a lot of people, but I'm not gonna lie. I'll tell anybody what I've failed at. And I've been there the same as everybody else. The point is to eliminate as much of it as possible and to not go there. And this is a true aspect of a better life that I've never heard anybody talk about. That's not to say somebody hasn't talked about it, obviously, but nobody that I've ever encountered has. You could choose different analogies. You could use a water analogy. You could use a glass analogy. I don't care what analogy anybody uses. But these objective, demonstrable things that are contrary to the essence of our being by not letting the light of natural order or the divine of God pass through us, that we think that we're walling ourselves off and protecting ourselves, we're not. We're just creating a stagnant stink box of filth that does the opposite of benefit us. Whatever you think of me, I couldn't care less. I read every comment. But what I said in this video is truth by reason, logic, and wisdom, and it is 100% undeniable. You might have a different way of taking it and applying it with a different analogy, which is perfectly fine. I use my own analogies, kind of simple ones, glass and water. But it is undeniable, and it makes life better. It makes life simpler. I've been as guilty of not following that, well, less guilty than most people, but certainly guilty of that in my life as anybody else. I'll freely admit that. There's nothing I have to hide. None of that stuff matters, ultimately. In the end, it's like, what did you gain? You just made your life more miserable and harder by walling yourself off, pretending to be somebody that you're not, pretending to be this, pretending to be that, and heaping another giant steaming pile of beliefs on top of that, and everybody's life just becomes more miserable. And that, by the way, just as a side note, is the one thing that I'm 100% certain why we're underneath imminent collapse in global society. I mean, we really are, especially Western society. That's extremely unfortunate, but anyway. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll check you out in live stream. Have a nice day.